This meeting is being recorded.
Hello. All right, y'all. That's a good time. Just go ahead and come off mute unless you are doing this podcast style. If everyone can hear me well and I'm loud enough, let me know with a thumbs up in the view. Cool. Dun, 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 dun. Let's let Ray lean in here. All right, y'all. How has the last week been for everyone? Way too awesome or just awesome?
Been pretty good.
Okay. So has anyone that wasn't on the call last week or just wanted to be an overachiever watch the challenge call from last week uploaded? It's been edited down to like 28-30 minutes from the hour, but I thought we covered some really good bases, and two, definitely want to utilize that as a training to go back to as well. Before we start, does anyone have anything going on in life? Anything to report? Any way you can give us an opportunity to support you, encourage you, all the above? If so, go ahead and come off mute.
I'll go ahead.
Rip it.
So I hit my lowest today for weight. It's not a huge change from like what I was at, but it's still the lowest I've been. So I'm at 138 on the dot. And that's pretty exciting. I honestly didn't think I'd ever see that number again. So that's cool. But also though, like just on our original call that you and I had, you were asking me questions like about what I wanted to see when I looked in the mirror type of thing. And when I woke up this morning and looked in the mirror, I was like, my midsection is slimming down. Like it's looking a little flatter. Like I just felt really good about that. And like my clothes have been fitting better and like just more comfortable. Like I'm not busting out of them. So that's all great, like observable stuff, but just like my confidence in being able to like have a small treat and then like not go overboard is really awesome feeling. And just knowing like last week I did really well with the CDE, and that was the first week that I felt like I like owned it. Before it was like I was doing pretty good, but not owning it. And last week I felt like I owned it. So it was good.
What made you feel like you totally owned it last week?
So like I had a day that I went over in calories because I have days like that. But I used what you had said and like I made it back up throughout the week. So I ended the week like square. And I think even like a 1 to 3 over in protein. So I was like, I just felt really good about being able to make those up and make it so my week was how it should be. And I also hit my workouts on the days that they're assigned, which I know is not a big deal to like hit them on the day they're assigned, but it just felt good to like, oh, I did it right. So
right. Yeah, that's awesome. So going back to say 2 weeks ago with maybe how you felt about yourself, self-image, and we'll talk about that a little bit tonight too, to today, how do you feel that's shifted or changed?
I mean, I'm feeling like my body's looking more like I was wanting it to look. So like I'm happier with that. But I really think like the biggest self-image change is about like my self-control. And just knowing like I had a couple things that we did that I like either brought food to, like we had Halloween, right? That was Monday, but still it rolled into this week. But I brought my own like chicken quesadillas that I made with a ton of chicken, like just the right amount of cheese. I had my protein wrap, like the wrap that's like 80 calories and 8 grams of protein. And I brought my own food to Halloween, and I didn't eat a single piece of candy at, while trick-or-treating. It just felt like I was in control. And that just felt really good. Whereas in the past, I've had so many times that I've attempted to take control of my nutrition and just crashed and burned and like lost complete faith in myself. So my opinion of myself and my self-image is just so much better knowing that I'm in control.
When you took your food to like this gathering, was that something that you felt any like resistance in, either like internal or external?
So I was a little worried that I was going to offend the host because they cooked dinner and I brought my own food. But I just told them, I said, hey, I'm following, like, I have certain targets that I'm trying to reach with my protein. And I knew that in order to hit it, I needed to bring my own quesadilla. And she was like, oh, that's cool. And then she just started asking me questions about it. So I'm somebody who I'm not afraid to share like what I'm doing. So I just was upfront with her and seemed to be fine.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the conversation we were having last week with like people just want to know that you're not doing some kind of goofy, off the wall thing. We're all protective of our friends and family.
Yeah.
We don't want them to do something, goofy that's going to put them in a worse situation. Or this is all coming from what they've seen from either their self in their dieting life or, another friend or family member. But when you have that opportunity to kind of speak truth into that situation, then you give them an opportunity to come on board and be supportive, right?
Mhm.
And it's always in our head, like, oh my God, we're going to offend these people when we come over, hey, yeah, we're not eating, or whatever, we're fine, or hey, we actually brought this, and like most people are going to be totally fine with that. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, and like that's a huge like growth that you can see, like that. Sometimes we see like these things happen incrementally, and then you can look back and like, oh wow, like this much has changed. And sometimes it just happens from like one step to the next. And it sounds like just over the last few weeks or month, you've really stepped into like that next level growth
Mhm.
for you personally. And that's where you're getting, the results, not only the results, but definitely the mindset and the focus.
Yeah, for sure. And in the past, I felt like I always was in the countdown, like, when is this going to be over? When am I going to be done with this?
Mhm.
And I have not felt that a single day. Like I wake up and I'm like, all right, it's like a challenge. It's like, how am I going to hit my protein today? What do I need to eat to hit it? And it's really taken a lot of the emotional aspect of eating away, which is huge. So it used to be
Mhm.
like, I'm sad, I'm gonna have some chocolate. I'm happy, I'm gonna have some chocolate.
I'm
So
tired. I want to have some chocolate.
exactly.
I'm sleepy.
There was an
I need some
excuse for
chocolate.
everything, right? Like
Yeah.
you could justify it, but yeah, so it's been great.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share with the group? I will just say this: if someone is thinking about piping up, um, everyone did really well over Halloween, over the weekend. I was looking at everyone's stuff, Tuesday, and I was like, good job. They didn't lie to me on Wednesday. Everyone said they had it. Everyone was like, yeah, we're fine. We don't have to worry about Halloween. So you guys did a great job with CDE on that one big night. All right, if anyone else would like to speak up and throw something out there.
I
This
have
is
an observation that I made about myself,
Oh, Tracy's got an observation. All right, hit it.
that I can still lose weight and still be bloated. Like, I think I used to associate bloat with guilt, and I did something wrong. I screwed up. And now I'm not really like, today I stood there and looked in the mirror and I had dropped like 3 pounds over the last couple of days, and probably because I stopped eating donuts. But like, he added calories and I didn't know how to fit them in. So I resorted to donuts, but then he cut my calories a little bit. So anyways, I stood there and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I feel really bloated, but I've lost like 3 pounds. And so anyways, I'm learning that like bloat is not an association with like I messed up, but just my insides are doing something different this time around. And also that it's nice that like I know that once that bloat goes down and things resolve, the scale's going to go down even more. So yeah, anyways, that's
Right.
the jumbled up stuff in my head.
Yeah, it's I had a chiropractor friend, and his phrase was always, "You can't base healing on a feeling," and it's so true. Whenever we're basing how we feel about anything on how we're actually feeling, either from a psychological perspective, from a physiological perspective. If you wake up in the morning, you're like, "Oh my God, like I'm bloated. Like there's no way that I've probably gained 3 pounds, overnight." And then you get on the scale and you look, over the last few days, like I'm consistently dropping, but like I don't feel like I should be feeling if I were dropping fat or dropping weight, right? Yes, our body is doing crazy stuff all the time. Like this is like one calories in versus calories out. It's just like one fraction of the entirety of what our body is doing, how we're using water, how we're moving water around, when we're flushing water completely out. So there's sometimes where you'll see, and I know a bunch of you have seen this, is you'll see body weight just flatline. And then like you're just holding steady with CDE, and all of a sudden like 2 pounds will come off like overnight. You're like, what happened? Like I didn't change anything. I hit my protein, hit my calories, and I've been eating as much as I was the last few days, the last couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, like there's so many things are happening there. But that's why like we have one, getting on the scale every day is one way, just get inoculated by that number, like whatever that number is. Who really cares? Joel's the only one that really needs to know that. And two, that's just one thing that we're tracking when it comes to the output from the input, which brings up another point of measurements. Measurements are massive. If you have not submitted measurements, or you have measurements to submit Saturday, make sure you're doing that. We're seeing those consistently, because that is also what we're pairing together with body weight to see what is actually changing, right? Because that helps to give us an opportunity to dictate things that need to change from a calorie or protein perspective. Everybody's good on that? I think that's a great observation. And it's funny that it's been like 5 months in, right? And these are all these small things we're still noticing about us. Like we're constantly stepping into who we are, right? On a daily basis. Like who I was 6 months ago is definitely not who I am today. Has a lot to do with just I'm forward motion, constantly thinking about what's the next step, the next level, the whatever. But like I want to look at that as like we're constantly stepping into that forward motion and stepping into who we are, and we're learning things about us. We're noticing new things about us. And the more aware that we are of us and our environment, all these different things, the more aware we are of the next step that we're taking to improve those things. So unless anyone has something else to pop in and share with the group, I got a short kind of presentation-ish thing tonight. So you guys don't just have to look at my face this entire time. Let's see here. If I were to know how this works, what would be the next thing I would do? Okay, let's share this screen. All right, everybody can see this, let me know. Slide this over here. This better not skip to the end. Okay, good. Okay, now everyone can still see it. Yay. Okay, we went over this last week. We talked about there's something to be said whenever we're all like in one place, in a group. If that group is, say, a church group, if it's a Facebook group, if it's a business group, like you're here for a reason, you're there for a reason. And typically, what I like to say is that we're here because like we're all running the same race at the same pace. Like we're seeing that when we come together, that we're supporting and encouraging each other because we are pursuing a similar goal and we're all running this same race at the same pace. It's really difficult to encourage someone that you know may be trying to run the same race that we're in, but why in the world are they like running over here in the woods when there's a track right here we're all running on, you know? And the people that, you know, I know this 100% is that the women that come into High Performance Human get the best results ever are the ones that come in and they're not an island. Like I say this so much, and it's only because I've seen it so many times. Like Brooke would definitely back me up here. Anyone that has come into High Performance Human in the last, we'll just say year, that has come in, introduced themselves, and just like withdrawn from the group hasn't got great results. They've gotten results they're happy with, but I know their results could be better because they weren't in the same, like they weren't running the same race at the same pace as everyone else around them. They never gave themselves an opportunity to say, hey, I'm kind of struggling with this, or how do you guys hit your protein, or how do you guys plan things out? Even though there's plenty of things, you know, plenty of information, education perspective in the members area and in the, you know, that's more like a curriculum, and they have, you know, support from us. Whenever someone has come in and tried to just be an island and insulate themselves from the group, it's never worked out really well for them. And I mean, that's why everyone on this call is getting great results, you know, thus far. And it's how we can say, like, this group of people cares about themselves enough to invest in themselves. Two, they're showing up for others because maybe you came on tonight and you needed some support, you needed some encouragement, and you know that in order to receive that, you have to give yourself an opportunity to extend that. Everyone feel me there? Thumbs. So last week we hit on some things, and I was thinking about this the other day, like purposeful movement, purposeful action. Like there's nothing that just happens just because, oh, well, this is really cool. Like I wrote this on a piece of paper and it just happened. You know, we talk about manifest action, and doing things on purpose, with purpose, and for purpose. We can break this down into, you know, one of my favorite things when it comes to movement or resistance training is like knowing why we're doing what we're doing, obviously knowing how to do it, paramount, but moving like on purpose, like moving weight with purpose, and knowing what that purpose is for. Like we are moving this weight in a resistance fashion to enable the muscle to tear down, to break down, to give a protein an option to rebuild that muscle larger and stronger, right? When it comes to eating, we're eating with purpose. That's why we have what I like to call the speedometer of food. Our speedometer of food is our Lose It app, and we're tracking the food intake there so we don't go over or we don't stay under. Like over the course of the week, the average of the week, we know we're hitting our calories, we know we're hitting our protein, or we know that something needs to be adjusted because we're doing that with purpose. Like there's a purpose for this. We're eating on purpose. We're not just eating, you know, whatever we want to, as much as we think we should be eating, and we're eating it with purpose, right? One of the best things I could ever do for someone that loves eating food is, one, just get them to slow down and taste the food they're eating. There's so many of us that prior to tracking our food probably just sat down and ate haphazardly and very fast, and then couldn't understand, like, I'm eating this healthy food, but why am I consistently gaining weight? Well, it's because what we were doing was probably right, but how we were doing it, how we were approaching it is probably a little wrong, right? There's no way that we can specifically state, okay, if you just do this thing, then if you just eat these vegetables, if you just eat meat, vegetables, and dessert every once in a while, like I can't positively state that anyone that does that is going to get lean, strong, and sexy. I can't, because how they're doing it. Like I was a vegetarian for 5 years, and I was so focused on the bad foods I wasn't eating. I never thought about the food I was eating. Let me tell you, the crap that I was eating as a healthy vegetarian was crazy, right? So I would go through a McDonald's drive-through and grab 2 apple pies and like a sweet tea, and like, hey, I'll pat myself on the back because it's not meat, you know, but it wasn't doing anything for me from a perspective of health. It wasn't doing anything for me from a perspective of understanding like why I was doing what I was doing. I was just so much more concentrated on what I wasn't doing. Then I found out that my body didn't know what I wasn't doing. It wasn't reacting to anything I wasn't doing. It was reacting to what I was doing and what I was eating. So that was just kind of one thing I was thinking the other day. It's just like purpose. I love thinking about purpose. Like, what are we doing here? Like, are we moving with purpose? Are we eating with purpose? Like for purpose? And this kind of brings into everyone here has been through Mindset Go. Tonight, I want to kind of take Mindset Go to a next level. And you might be thinking like, oh God, I don't know if I could do like a next level Mindset Go. But I think how I'm laying it out is going to make a lot of sense. It's going to be an extension of what we already know. So there's not necessarily going to be new information here. But I did want to find a way to pair Mindset Go with becoming a damn animal. right? So we all talked about that last week. We've all done Mindset Go. So the place to start is always the place you want to be, right? So the best way to sum that up is, everyone that's on this call, our first call that we ever had was, what are you looking to accomplish? Like, what is that thing? Like, who is the only time people reach out to me to discuss high performance human as a opportunity as a client is because the experience that they're having currently does not match the experience that they want to have. So they want to use high performance human as the intervention and the opportunity to make that happen. Does that make sense? So one of the first questions that we ever had was like, hey, what are you looking to accomplish? Like, is this a health goal? Is this a body weight goal? Are we trying to get into like a pair of pants that's been hanging in the closet for a while? And then we start going down kind of the levels of Mindset Go. So tonight, I just wanted to kind of extend this a little bit and give you an opportunity to kind of see where my head is at when it comes to like a next level Mindset Go, what that looks like, and how we can eliminate both internal resistance and external resistance to getting what you want, to getting like what winning looks like for you. So I told everyone to bring a pen, piece of paper to this. So just like for a minute, I want you to kind of think about like designing the person you'd like to become, or designing like you 2.0. And when I think about designing, or I think about inventing or reinventing, when I think of reinvention, this is so funny, but I think of Madonna. When I think of any time like, okay, I'm reinventing myself, automatically Madonna, because she's done it like, I think 24 times or something. And it's like, she has been all these different types of people, and she's created these new personas every few years. Seems like every time an album comes out, she's a whole new person. But I think that's kind of cool, because it does give us this time, this moment to design who we want to be. Like, if there's something about me that I don't like, I want the option to pull out that old programming and put in a brand new program to change that. But two, I want to make that change in a way that I'm recreating who I am. I can definitely tell you that people that knew me 10 years ago don't necessarily know who I am now, just because I've changed that much and my approach to life is much different. For sure, 15, 20 years ago, same thing. Because Tony Robbins talks about this a lot, and it's such a great thing. Like, he realized that where he was and where he wanted to be would require him to become someone else. Like, he had to reinvent himself, and he had to step into that, right? And some people are like, oh, this is just who I am. This is who I'm always going to be. And that kind of pisses me off, because we give ourselves zero credit to change anything, but we are the ones that have created where we are now. Like, every behavior, every desire, every question or answer that we've ever had has attributed to who we are now. And so I would say, if you feel any resistance to doing this, to like redesigning you or designing like who you would want to be, just tell yourself, like, you've already done this. You've just done it in a way that was passive and more on a unconscious level. But doing this consciously may give you some resistance, but it's always a fun exercise. Like, who are you? Who do you want to be? Like, who is that person? That person that's doing the things, having the life that you desire. Like, who do you need to reinvent yourself as to be that person? Like, to be you 2.0. Like, what are your attributes? Are you going to wear your hair different? Are you going to dress differently? Are you going to be involved in things that you're not involved in now? Or is this going to be more of like a community focus for you? there's so many things, and that kind of plays into your environment. Like, how would your environment change? Obviously, if I'm changing, there are things in my environment that is going to change because we're shaped by our environment, right? There's plenty of times that we've heard, like, we're just, we're like a creature of our environment. Our environment changes, we change, sometimes better, sometimes worse, right? If there's constantly Pop-Tarts around me, I'm probably going to eat a Pop-Tart. I don't even like Pop-Tarts that much, but if you put the right Pop-Tart in front of me at the right time, I'm like, I'm eating that thing. And then I'm just going to feel like, man, I wasted these calories. This wasn't even good. Who made this thing? Because it's still nasty. Like, it hadn't changed since I was a kid. I didn't really like them then. But when we start to change things in our environment, it's going to directly affect us. And this was brought up earlier in the call too. Self-image. I want to talk about, like, when it comes to how we see ourselves. I would say that's the main driver that gets people into conversations with me. I've got a spreadsheet of just the last week and a half of women that have reached out to have a conversation with me based on some ads that we're running. And every single conversation I have with those women is really based in not just the experience I'm having now isn't the experience I want to have, but it's truly based on, there's a misalignment in my life. Like, I'm awesome at what I do. My success, like, is there, but I don't have a body health performance that exudes the same. Like, I want to match that. So I see not only that I see not only there's an incongruence, but there's definitely this self-image that who I see in the mirror is 100% who I know I am not inside. Like, I know I'm a high performer. I know I set goals, smash goals, and I've seen success over success. But you would not know that if you just saw me walking into the mall. If, I can't see that in the mirror. And how many of us know that if there's one thing we are down on ourselves so much, it's about how we see ourselves? Because 100% the people around you are looking at you at a much higher level than we're probably looking at ourselves, especially when it comes to goals, especially when it comes to changing who we are, right? To alignment, the people around us, like, we have a constant, like, kind of a viewership of who we are that looks up to who we are, what we do, how we carry ourselves, how we approach life. Whenever we look at ourselves through a very strong magnifying glass and we see everything that's wrong. How many people agree to that? So there's a bridge here. I'm going to bring up, I just thought about this. I'm actually bringing up two iconic female like musicians, singers on this call. One, because I'm a fan, and two, because I think it fits perfectly. So to go from you 2.0 to what winning looks like to you, there has to be a bridge. And that bridge sometimes is going to require you to become someone else to come in and execute what needs to be done to have what you want. So I know everyone here, unless you were born and live under a rock, everyone here knows who Beyonce is, right? Everyone's very familiar with Beyonce. So years and years ago, before she was, superstar, pop sensation, she was scared to death. Like, she could sing, she was great, she was entertaining, she was awesome, but she would sit side stage about the time they were calling, Destiny's Child out, and be on the verge of throwing up or passing out because she felt so much anxiety and pressure and felt stress over the situation. Whenever, again, zoom out, her viewership, everyone around her is like, Beyonce's freaking awesome. Like, if there is any woman that can get on stage and crush it, Beyonce, 100% of the time. But herself, she had this almost like debilitating fear, and it would turn into a sickness before she got on stage. And she realized, like, okay, this is not good. This is not going to serve me in getting what I want from my career, from my life. I've got to do something about it. So here's the cool story. She invented Sasha Fierce. How many people know Sasha Fierce? Right? Sasha Fierce is who Beyonce comes onto stage as, because it pushes her through that resistance. It pushes her through that any little bit of internal resistance she has or external resistance, she becomes fierce, freaking fierce. Like, she becomes Sasha Fierce. She named like her alter ego Sasha Fierce, so she can walk out on stage and do what she does. Like, she can exit, she can come in and bring the execution that's required to get what she wants, right? And I was thinking about this the other day, and at the gym, just seeing people like working out, doing things, and you see these people, they're very timid, like they're very like standoffish. They don't want to be in anyone's way. They're, it's almost like they feel weird being there. Like, they want what comes out of being there, certainly want that, but they don't feel like either they're a part of it, or they don't feel like they belong, or they think everyone else around them is thinking like, oh my God, what are you here for? Like, you might as well just leave and never come back, which there's no time I've ever seen in a gym that is the case, right? It's always the real that's playing here constantly. Like, you're not good enough. Why in the world are you here? And I would never ask anyone on this call to raise your hand and it's like, hey, that's me, I've been there before. But I can 100% raise my hand and say, even lately, in the last few months, this has happened to me, right? I live in a place where my gym has celebrities in it, freaking professional athletes, not to mention these ripped college dudes. And they're like, good God, all these mothers around here are just freaking killing it. And, here I am, it's like doing my squats and stuff next to this celebrity. And I've had to check myself over the last, couple months, like, all right, everyone is playing their own game of golf. Like, if you're familiar with golf, you go out and play with 3-4 of your buddies, and there's always one guy, typically it's me, like, sucks. I'm good at like one thing. And but I know that I'm just there, like, having fun, hanging out with my friends. But there's some of us that are really good, some of us are not very good at all. But we're all playing our own game, trying to get better at what we're doing. And save the specific times where someone is caught on camera, someone making fun of someone in the gym or whatever. I've never seen it devolve into a situation where someone is saying like, okay, like, why are you here? Like, you don't belong here, anything else. Again, this is all like the negative reel that we have in our head of our own self-image. But that gives you the perfect opportunity to create your Sasha Fierce. Like, name it. If you want to name your alter ego, knock yourself out. I've got one. I would never share it with you. But sometimes we have to step into someone else to actually get the byproduct of what we want to be able to execute well. Does that make sense to anyone? Anyone have anything they want to throw in there? I don't want to keep you guys forever on this call, but I definitely wanted to kind of take this to the next level of like Mindset Go extended. Let me stop sharing here. All right, and we're back. All right, how many people are going to design future them over the next few days? Like attributes, what you're going to wear, what you're going to do. Are you going to be involved in something different? How is not only yourself going to change and you stepping into that, how also is life going to change? And when required, are you going to be able to step into like your fierceness, like your animal side, to push past the fear, the anxiety, the stress that you have in executing well? This is a big challenge. This is a big, this is a big ask, certainly. I told you guys on these calls, like these calls are not for me. They're definitely 100% for you. I pull a lot from them just because I love being a part of, obviously a part of this group. And I love what I do. I love hearing you guys' stories and your takeaways. And I think one of the first things that we brought up in the first or second call was, we're not going to get on here and talk about vegetables, water intake, freaking steps. Like, that's not moving the needle. That's all crap that everyone knows. If you have any questions about that stuff, obviously hit me up, hit Brooke up. She can definitely point you in the right direction. But I want these calls to be the gateway to you all stepping into what you want, not only from this program. We talk about like fitness, nutrition, like excellence is ongoing. That's a lifetime pursuit. It's not just 16 weeks. But when you step into that and you can look back, just like Kaylin said earlier, like you can look back, the last couple months and see growth and see change and see like the needle is moving. That's when you have that opportunity that you've given yourself that opportunity to push further and more forward, and to walk in faith that what you're doing is right, and step out of the fear of what you've always done is wrong. Cool.
I have a question.
Bring it.
So does Beyonce current day believe that she is Beyonce? Like her attributes are her alter ego? Have they blended into one person?
Have they merged?
Yeah, because I guess the point that I'm trying to understand is, does Beyonce still mentally live as the old Beyonce, or does she have to continuously flip that switch to channel her alter ego, or has she become Sasha Fierce?
That's a good question. From what I know, and 100% fan here, I know that she still, like, from the last I've heard, like she still has like butterflies before she goes on stage or has an interview or something like that. But that's when she channels Sasha Fierce to either show up as that. I don't know that they've merged, but I think that's an interesting question. I'll have to look that up.
The reason I ask is because one of the leaders on my team teaches about like belief, and we can show up as a certain way, we can speak a certain way, but until we believe that we can become that, there's a misalignment, and there's like, that's the inner work that needs to be done, is the belief that they can become that Sasha Fierce. And so that's why I bring that up, because obviously Beyonce's goal is to embody on a permanent basis of being the person that she strives to be and that she presents on stage. So I think it's kind of even that, like bridging Beyonce and Sasha Fierce.
Yeah, I look at it like this. if there's ever been, I can speak from myself personally. So like years and years ago, I lived like a whole nother life. I was in a band on stages and junk like that. Um, we played for like the first ever time I played for a ton of people was like 10,000 people there. And I didn't even know it. Like I just knew it was a huge venue. And I didn't know it until the lights hit, like the crowd blinders hit. And it's like a sea of people. And that one, I hadn't done any mindset work at this point in my life. I really wish I did. But in that second, I was like missing notes, like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, okay, like this is massive. This is like, this is huge. And then it was like something kicked in and said, all right, you got two options. You can shrink back and be small, and this stage is going to gobble you up. Or two, like you can step out and you can be as big as this stage will let you be. And this crowd is going to love you or hate you, but you're not coming off this stage without leaving it all on the dance floor. And the Joel that like went from timid, shy, and was not a good communicator at all, just played bass, like hanging back in the back, became like, okay, this is go time and this is what I want. I'm gonna have to be this guy on stage. And that's like that all happened. Like our brain is so powerful. Like we can do so many billions of things at one time in our brain. And it's like this all happened in a matter of seconds. It was like, this is go time. You're either gonna shrink back and you're gonna be small, or you're gonna stand up and you're gonna push forward and you're gonna jump, and rock this thing. And I chose like, okay, I'm going to be exactly what I think I should be doing. Even though it's going to be as uncomfortable as hell for me as a freaking introvert back here by the drums playing bass, which is like where I always wanted to be. I don't want to be in the spotlight. Don't put lights on me. I don't want a mic. Everything's, like just, I don't want anyone to know who I am, to pushing up front, to showing up and to freaking killing it. To the point, like my bandmates were like, dude, like what happened to you? I was like, fight or flight, man. It kicked in. It was like, it was one of the two. And I knew like, all right, I'm not going back to the bus and crying in a bunk because I just was like, oh, I don't want to be here. There's way too many people. So I know for me, like I didn't become that person, but I definitely had to become that person on stage, just because who I was definitely not even who I am now on the communication side. Definite mucho introvert. Like I didn't want to talk to people. I was cool with people I knew, but I would go to parties and people were like, man, Joel is a butthead. Like, why is he here? And my friends would be like, no, if you get to know him, he's really cool. He's just super introverted. And that was a part of me realizing like, hey, I'm going to have like, the life that I want is not on the other side of me being afraid to talk to people or shunning communication. Like the life I want is going to be in pushing into situations where I don't feel comfortable. But if that's what it takes, and I have to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, then I'm just going to start walking up to 100% complete strangers and have conversations with them. And like I made myself press into that so many times. I mean, even now, like I'm an ambivert, like I'm an introvert with extrovert tendencies. So like I'm out, like I'm can feel myself being drained, and I recharge like on my own and alone. But I knew that on my own and alone, and being an unknown on a stage somewhere running away from lights, was not going to permit me to have the life that I wanted. So I had to make that decision. Does that make sense? Kind of give you a little bit of a timeline there?
Yeah, it does. I think the bridge is forcing yourself into situations that will help you obtain your Sasha Fierce.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to be, everyone from that night, everyone called me Wolfman. I didn't want to be Wolfman everywhere, but I needed to be Wolfman on stage. I didn't want to be climbing up on trusses and jumping off of crap and all that stuff the entirety of my life, but I knew that was what it was going to take, to be to show up well in that role.
Mhm.
But there's never been a merge, like, and I've talked to different musicians and athletes, especially, where we all practice, what we're ever doing, we're practice at 50%, but we perform like 150%. And once you realize that you're going to have to perform, or you're going to have to show up, you're going to have to be something different than you just practicing.
And I think you're probably also allowed to still want to be, like, in parts of your life, still want to be Beyonce, and in other parts of your life, be okay with being Sasha Fierce. And so kind of allowing space for both
Mhm.
in appropriate situations. So, CDE, that's my Sasha Fierce. I am going to, like, that's my envision, like, that's my U 2.0, is being on freaking point all the freaking time.
Mhm.
There's other parts of me that I am okay with holding on to as well, so I think it's like there's, I think it's
Yeah,
knowing that it's okay to flip flop as well, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not like an everything must go sell. There's
Mhm.
all of us have great parts of us that we're like, oh man, I love this about me. And there's some things that's like, this could change. This could definitely change. Not because it's not not because it's not normal, not because it's not welcome, but because it might not be serving me in this one situation, you know. So that might be communication. That might be like putting ourselves in situations where, yeah, it's kind of, uncomfortable. But the more that we do those things, and I mean, this could even be from the perspective of eating a new food. It could be the perspective of trying something, different, or pushing ourselves a little bit differently in the gym. I know for myself, like yesterday, I did heavy squats of like 3 sets of 5 reps, and those mothers, or no, they're deadlifts, and those mothers like made my glutes and hams scream. Then right after that, I did 10 minutes of EDT block of step ups holding 225-pound weights, and I was like, oh man, I need to drop this. I was like, no, keep going. And I really had to kind of get pissed at myself. I was like, no, this is why we're here. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going to get what we want out of doing this, not just because we want to be doing it to be doing it. Like there's a reason. So yeah, I definitely had that pep talk for me, and definitely just like tunnel vision, 100% performance. And I had to become someone else in the gym just the other day to really feel like when I left, like I did it, like it is done. Like I left it all on the dance floor. I know tomorrow morning I'm probably not going to be able to, bend down or pick anything up or anything like that. And a walk's probably going to kill me, but you know what? I did it because that was the goal.
Makes sense.
I think it's
Awesome.
almost like you fake it till you make it kind of mentality. And then you turn back and you realize I actually did do what I was trying to do in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the only thing about faking it till you make it is you are the only one that really knows you're faking it.
Mhm.
And so when you're telling yourself, like, I'm just doing this, I'm just faking it, you never really embrace it. And so
Totally.
then you actually create some resistance in whatever it is, and you actually either accepting it or stepping into it because not because you don't feel worthy. It's that you feel like it's it's not genuine, it's not authentically you.
Mhm.
So there has been definitely conversations I've had about that too. It's like, is I just fake it till you make it? Like, well, if you're faking it though, and you know that you're faking it, it's going to be really hard to make it.
Yeah. I actually think like faking it till you make it is how I've succeeded. Like, honestly, like
How do you mean?
kind of saying, I'm going to make this work. And then being like, yeah, you know what? That worked out for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but you started out like you gave yourself a direction and directive. It was
Yeah.
like,
And
hey,
you're
I'm
scared
doing
to do
this.
it. And you don't feel like you're actually accomplishing it. And then you're like, yeah, I did. Okay. That worked.
Yeah, yeah. Can you give us an example?
My current month was an example because I just ranked up in the company and I was
Ooh.
faking it till I make it. And I'm just like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. And I think
That's
everything
awesome.
just kind of comes full circle with the mindset part. But even in the nutrition and the wellness, like I get a lot of people stop me and say, wow, you're doing great, or you look great, or you look different. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think it looked that different, but okay, I guess you see it. Now I will see that. Like
Mhm.
other people pointing it out too, that they're watching what you're doing. Or
Yeah,
they'll be like, oh, you're rocking whatever it is, your workouts, your meals, your whatever. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, I guess I am. I didn't realize I was doing well at that until you pointed it out.
yeah. It's always the people around us that are seeing things clearly, so much more clear than we actually
Yeah.
are, because things are changing very small to us. Like, I can kind of see, whatever, But
Yeah.
especially the people we haven't seen in a couple months are like, oh my God, like what are you
Mhm.
doing? Like what's going on? And that I mean, we live with ourselves every day. We pack we're packing ourselves around all the time. Uh, the only thing we really pay any attention to is if we're in pain. It's like, does this hurt? Oh God, no, what did I do? And we all know like our own patterns, and it's proven that the only thing that we really see that sticks out to us is a difference in someone's pattern, where we're like, hey, what's going on? Is everything
Mhm.
okay? Like if they keep following the same pattern, we're in our mind, unconsciously, everything's fine. But it's when something breaks in that pattern, it's like, hey, what's going on? And so when, like you said, when people haven't seen you in a while and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, you look great. And that gives you, like, you're like, all right, well, yeah, thank you.
It's like that reassurance that you actually are making a difference or seeing a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, congratulations on the promotion. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that something that you were looking for, or just kind of
Well, I was, but I gave myself a year to hit it, and I literally hit it in a month out of nowhere. So
a
thanks to
month?
my team. Yeah. I come back in
Dang.
September and I was like, okay, by next September, I'm going to work towards this goal. And it was about coming into believing in yourself and not self-doubting that I wasn't worthy to do what I wanted to do.
Mm,
And I mean, that goes on our nutrition and wellness as well, but it was 100% what I was trying to do and didn't know how to get there because I was scared I wasn't worthy to do what I needed to do.
mm.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
it pairs well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's how funny is it that we can create in our mind what we desire in life, we'll give
Mhm.
ourselves permission to pursue that thing, and
Yeah.
then it shows up.
Yeah. And it was the
Obviously the
permission
seed.
to pursue it. I mean, I got another goal and I'm giving myself 2 years to hit that one because it's a big one, but who knows? Who knows?
So this is a
Tracy's
year
going
goal.
2 years.
It was a
Took me
year
almost 2
goal,
years
and
to
you
get
did
this.
it in a month.
Well, I mean, I was already at one level, but the next one is huge. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that is fantastic. I love it. I love it. All right. Anyone else have anything they would like to say? Julie, would you like to share any delectable recipes or anything with us that make us want to just stop cooking altogether, or what?
I have this recipe that I don't know, I screwed it up the first time, so I have to try it again. I used the wrong pan, but I have a recipe for a pizza, and you use self-rising flour and fat-free yogurt for the dough. And then you put like, you could do like a breakfast pizza or whatever you want on it, but I screwed it up and it did taste really good, but it just looked super funny. So I'm working on that for you guys.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, but
Yeah, I made my first ever like true pizza. Like everything else I've ever done is like, protein pizza or chicken crust pizza or whatever. So for Halloween night, I was like, I'm gonna go to Publix. They already have like the fresh dough already made. I'm like, I'm gonna figure out, how to flatten this stuff out and get it in like a crust shape. Then I had a rolling pin, so I did that, got it round and put it on the pan, cooked that up, and it was great. I was really surprised because
it looked really good.
yeah, I was really happy with it. Last night I made salmon and sea scallops. Sea
Nice.
scallops are good stuff. You talking about protein, sea scallops. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I'll look it up for you guys.
Well, you're looking that up. I'm turning 40 on Friday and we're having a party. So I picked all the food. My chef friend is coming to cook for us. And we're having raw oysters, shrimp cocktail, steak tartare,
Yes.
pizzas, and I ordered a really good cake. But there's a lot of protein that's going to be happening.
Nice. How can you
Yeah.
go wrong with seafood, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. 100, let's see here. For 165 grams cooked sea scallops, it's 146 calories, 27 grams of protein.
That's solid.
That's how I had room for dessert. Monday night.
Nice.
Julie, we don't care about how the pizza looks as long as it tastes
Yeah,
good.
definitely. You
I
guys
really
think
screwed it
about
up,
that.
but I'm serious. It's gonna work. There was like a girl I was following, Julie Ledbetter. She's got really good recipes. I have a whole packet of recipes to share.
Yeah, keep pumping in there. And there might be some unresourceful people in the group. They're like, oh, hey, give me that recipe. But my God, if it's friggin' chicken, vegetables, and something else, we get it. We know how to make those things. You don't have to go crazy on us. All right, y'all. This has been awesome. I'll throw in the homework in the post of the challenge call tomorrow, and we will do this again, same time, same station next week. All right.
Bye.
Good night.